What's up, guys? Zedge Nation, as we all know, tonight, UFC 144 on tonight, as always. Me doing my UFC preview and that. And I must say, tonight's card is very, very stacked full of well-known fighters that everyone knows. And I'm telling you now, this build-up to all of the fights on the card are really, really good. And also the fighters that are on the main card are very strengthening. Like we see sometimes with the UFC, they pull off a good main event, but yet their lower end of the main card is not so good. But I must say tonight they've pulled it off tremendously. And I must say, I think the first fight on the UFC 144 card tonight is Yushin Okami versus Boetsch. Now, I personally think that Yushin Okami will win this fight. Personally, because I've seen him in the octagon before. He's really good. He's really well renowned, and he's of the likes of what's his face of Yoshihiro. What's his name? Yoshihiro Akiyama. I must say though that Yushin Okami, I think he's going to pull off the win against Tim tonight, and that's partly because I think that he's going to pull it off with either his fists, or anywhere else means necessary. But I just think Yushin's going to win tonight. Next fight on the card will be Yoshihiro Akiyama versus Jake Shields. Now I must say, Jake Shields and Yoshihiro Akiyama, that's a good fight for starters, and that's just like the second fight on the main card, guys. And I personally think that Yoshihiro Akiyama, sorry, I couldn't get his name messed up. Yoshihiro Akiyama, or also known as Sekiyama, as we all know, was going to pull off the win, personally because of his well-renowned fighting. His fists are very hard. We saw him against the Michael Bisping fight, and his fight in the O2 Arena back in England 2 years back. And I must say, he did look very, very clean then, and he's just improving. Well, Jake Shields, on the other hand, we all know is a former title contender, and he's well-renowned as well. I think this is pretty evenly matched, but I personally think that Yoshihiro Akiyama is going to win the fight. Next on the main card we have Mark Hunt, not Mike Hunt, Mark Hunt, against Cheick Kongo. Personally, I think Mark Hunt is going to win this. Personally, because Cheick Kongo, we've seen before, he's only good with his fists, and when he went up against Frank Mee, he didn't really show that much of his strengths. And I personally think that Mark Hunt, as we've seen him in his previous bouts, he's been the most domineering person in his fights, and I think that will show tonight against Cheick Kongo. So yeah, and then we go on to the co-main event, which is Rampage Jackson versus Ryan Bader. Now I'm hoping that Rampage Jackson can build his way up again. We all know that he faced John Jones and he lost to John Jones, but I personally think that Rampage Jackson, if he gets his head right and he's been training right, he will win tonight against Ryan Bader. No disrespect to Ryan Bader, he's a very, very good fighter. I just think Rampage Jackson, with his experience, he's going to win. But then again, where he's getting a bit old and his experience is wearing off, he could be getting like Chuck Liddell, and especially it's really 50-50, and Ryan Bader could pull off the win. But personally, I think Rampage Jackson. And then we go to the main event of the evening, which is Frankie Edgar versus Benson Henderson. Now, I must admit, Benson Henderson, as we all know, was a part of the WEC before it got taken over by the UFC, or when it combined it into one to UFC. And I personally think that Benson Henderson might have the upper hand against Frank Edgar tonight, just because of when we saw him in his last fight, he showed us what good skills he has. And also, if you watched him in WEC, he was really, really well-rounded, and you can tell that in his fights he was domineering. He had a good game plan, and he actually prosecuted it well, and he actually gave it away as well. He actually got on top and gave his fists. But then again, we see Frankie Edgar, he's been up against BJ Penn, the likes of them, and they're well-renowned top guys. And Frankie Edgar does have his experience within UFC. Look, he's just his statistics show for himself 14-1 for Frank Edgar with one draw. And then you've got Benson Henderson with 15-2. Now, I personally think Benson Henderson, not just because he's won more, but because of what he's shown in his previous fights, he's going to win tonight. But yeah, that's the way I think it's going to go, guys. UFC 144 tonight, and as we all know, it's going to be It's Time tonight. So yeah, subscribe to my YouTube above. go. Follow me on Twitter at Mr. DJ Zedge. Follow me on Skype. Add me on Skype at ZedgeMMA, and like me on Facebook. I will be back with a post-fight review of each of the bouts, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, I'll check you all later. Peace.